Welcome all and good evening. And I would like to welcome all the panelists and all the participants for today's webinar and an important topic of discussion, Architects Act Amendment and Post-COVID Impact on Small and Medium-Sized Firms. So I take this opportunity to first introduce our panelist, Architect Ashish Patankar. He is Director Madhav Consultants India Private Limited. Architect Atit Vengurlekar. He is Director Blue Arch Architects. Architect Ashish Patil. He is co-founder of Archilab Designs. And Architect Siddhant Khade. He is Director Entity Architects. So welcome all panelists. And let's start the discussion on this important topic. As you know, we all know today the architectural practice has changed quite a bit from the time what we have learned in the schools, colleges, and from the time when we started our practice under an architect's office. Today, I feel the architecture practice and design has been very fragmented. It has many aspects, and as an architect, we may be aware of most of them, but we are not experts all the time. And at the same times, we see that we need to involve many other professionals, other consultants to finish the project and the entire process more efficiently and to deliver something safe and sound design and building. And also the reason why the architectural practice has changed, what I feel is, it's a need of the hour. It is the technology has changed, the requirement of the client has changed, and general perception of architectural design has also changed. But what I want to ask a very simple question, and here I might take the freedom of saying that, most of us, when we have studied the architectural college, during that time, we never studied the Architects Act 1972 in detail. Even when we passed out and we got the registration certificate from Council of Architecture, I think I will take the liberty of saying that, most of us don't go and study the Act in detail. So I want to know, like, as medium and small size practices, what do we want from the Act and how do we proceed for that? I think I'll start with Architect Ashish Patankar. And can you, share your views on this? Ashish,
Actually, the Architects Act is like a guideline for us. Even though we have studied it in detail and we have understood it, but if you see the amendments proposed right now by the COA are to define the architectural practice and the scope of architecture, which has not been incorporated earlier in detail, which is why the lacunae has been misused by other non-architects who are practicing as architects or doing the practice of architecture. So that lacunae is being rectified now. As small architects, we realize that these amendments are taking care of all these lacunae, which will weed out all the non-architects who are practicing architecture. So in that respect, these amendments which are being proposed are taking care of all architects, not just small architects, but all architects. So we as architects and the fraternity have to rally together and come together and support these amendments.
Atit, as you've done your bachelor's degree, formal education from US. So what are your views on Architects Act, and what do you feel, what do we as medium and small size practices we look for?
So from the COA, what I have read the Act of 1972. It's very differentiated from the acts of other countries which are followed. Uh, the main agenda of the theory is that the act is taught during the tenure of the education. So it's very clear that, you know, when you're out in the open, you know what guidelines have to be followed, whether you're part of a principal architecture, are you a PMC, the subject that you like to practice with. Eventually here, the practice is not followed in a unique way, but in a very generic way. So what my personal intake is that we require to be more informative on the baseline first, that is on the part of the education. So I basically feel that, you know, as Ashish said, we need to have a rally as a fraternity moving forward. 10 years down the line, the new batch which comes out of Indian architects should have uh, a system which supports them for the Amendment Act.
Okay, so I agree with both what Patankar and Atit are saying. We need to support COA in this amendment, and I think the present committee under the president Professor Habib Khan, they are trying their best, and we've seen that because of this lockdown and because people have uh, free time on the hand, the entire fraternity is very much interested in seeing the amendment happening, and I hope it should happen fast, and we should support them fully. So I take this is the whole question for the audience, that will you create awareness to help Council of Architecture in the process of amending the Act of Architects Act 1972.
Are we also supposed to poll?
No.
So we've got 100% voting saying yes, we will support and create awareness. That's a good positive look. So that I'll come to the next question, which is also very important in current scenario because of this COVID, this pandemic, and the lockdown, which has actually brought on us, and the slowdown of economic activities. Many of us, because we are part of the construction industry, many of the small and medium-sized architectural practices, we are going to be hit very badly, because a lot of new jobs will not be available. Existing jobs will be getting either reworked or delayed, budgets getting revised, workers not available on site. How do we, solve these issues? And do we have any body or association where we actually can take all our issues, both professional as well as economical issues? And how do we make sure, as medium and small size firms, how do we make sure that, how do we generate business? How do we generate inquiries? Ashish Patil, can you share your views, because you are into comprehensive practice of architecture, interiors, turnkey and PMC. So what do you think? How will you generate your new business? What are your ideas? And do you think, is there any body where we can, take our issues, professional, both economical issues?
Yeah, thank you, Amir. I feel this question is got a lot of relevance to the earlier question also, because what the Architects Amendment Act, which is happening under the roof of COA now, is
Ashish, just 1 second. Can you increase your volume? I think because your volume is very low.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah. Better.
Better.
Yeah, thank you. I feel this question has got the relevance of the earlier question as well, that what is the role of the COA and what kind of amendments we need to do it in the law which the COA has defined. Is first we need to the COA has to empower architects in such a way that it does not remain just as an act, but it has to become a bylaw, not only for the architects to follow, but even for the clients to follow, for the government and the private sectors also to follow, so that they make sure that any kind of a work related to the architectural or the interiors work or any of the allied services is done by the qualified architect and not by the other, they say contractors or the guys who have done a 1 or 2 year just a diploma or a part-time diploma, which is in a large chunk nowadays. So this is the root of, I feel the root cause of the problems what the smaller firms are facing nowadays. Now, if it is related, if you are talking only about the pandemic or the lockdown situation, the kind of a labor problems what we are facing, uh, I feel the availability of the work will always have the dependency of the market scenario. It can be a lockdown today because of the pandemic. Tomorrow it can be any other crisis. What we need to have a system under the COA where when we are having the tenders out for the project, the contractor makes sure, though it is not our prerogative, but as a captain of the ship, we will have to make sure that the contractor is the equipped well with the machineries and the people who will work on those projects, and the projects will not get delayed. For the smaller firms, I feel the collaboration is the key right now in such situation where you can collaborate with the similar kind of a practices, be it the architect or the engineers or the consultants, and pitch for the projects where you can enter into a slightly larger market as well. And another thing is to avoid the labor problems what we are facing. We have to start looking at the not the labor intensive projects of the design which the I think the Europe or the Western countries have already adopted, is not to have a much of the labor intensive designs of the construction, but to have a more of factory made execution. So this is something which will help during the pandemics as well as for the smaller firms to overcome this problem.
Yeah, so what I would like to ask, is a continuity of that, because, now we will be moving more towards, maybe a precast solution or factory-made solutions to complete the process on site in proper time. So what I would come to the next question will be that manufacturing industry in our country, they have been able to categorize themselves in various categories, say small, micro, small and medium enterprises, different based on various parameters like the turnover factor or the size of the production or the size of the employment. So do you think, this is the right time that even we as architects, we can, categorize our uh, design practices into different categories? And if we do that, how do we do that? Shall we, take the categories based on education, experience, or shall it be on staff strength, or it can be on the turnover of the field? I think I'll ask Siddhant, what do you feel on this?
This is good question, sir. And as per my opinion, classification will allow to the growth the small company also with the specific criteria and the specific particular views in the market. And if they want to take the advantages of the classification, we can identify the companies with the cash flow and the turnover, because if the companies are getting the many larger projects, they can form the consortium and take the team for the bidding the such project, and they can build a good repo in the market also to deliver the best product.
Atit, can you throw some light on this? Like, how do you like to categorize? Do you think we can categorize the practice?
We can basically I find it like, you require a set skill trained contractors, and when there is an exterior fit out, there are guidelines. We call it exterior fit out guidelines, interior fit out guidelines. So the guidelines have to be followed with the skilled workers. You require them on a front line So, even a masonry guy, only knows the basic of how a bricklaying has to be done. But a skilled labor, if he's trained on the front line, he knows how smartly he can do the work in the man hours. So, you require that sort of agencies to come, in the forefront and to take an initiative. And COA needs to take that initiative with the IIA chapters to have such agencies to train the workers, so it benefits mutually as a win-win situation for architects, for interior designer, and even a licensee contractor. What I'm trying to say, you'll have a licensee contractor in the future who is certified to do such jobs.
Ashish Patil, what are your views on this categorizing of practices?
I think when it comes to, if you're doing any government project or even for the private large size MNC projects, the categorization is already there when it comes to their prerequisites with what they ask. They already they will be checking your years of experiences, your manpower strength, your turnovers, all these things. So that I feel that categorization is already there. I don't think you need to categorize even more beyond that. Now, when it comes to the other sectors, if somebody is, having the expertise in the interiors project, that has been taken care of by providing such kind of, the certificates, etc. We need to do the, I think the value addition to the profession by doing the more of the collaboration and getting more and more work to the smaller and medium firms, so that this categorization is not only specific to your company size or the profits, but it is mainly taken care of by checking your design capabilities.
Ashish Patankar, you have any feedback which you can give on this? Ashish, you are on mute.
We have all these government contracts where the categorization happens mainly on the turnover. So any which ways you can bid only if you qualify there. So that is already there. So you always aspire to grow from a small to medium, medium to big. So that aspiration is always there. So if we are going to categorize ourselves, it is going to be an internal amongst the fraternity, whether you want some collaboration or whether you want some discussion amongst you to bid for projects. In that manner, that categorization will help.
Okay, so I'll take the audience poll also on this. That can we have the poll question? Will you like your practice to categorize based on education, experience, staff, or turnover? I think 67% says yes. There are 22% saying no also. So there is a good number which is saying no. And 11%.
The thing which worries me is the maybe guys.
Yes, 11% are not clear. So I think then it's a, we're getting good feedback from the audience also. So I think we'll move to the next part, which is, I feel right now it is very important as an architect. Because, this pandemic, we have seen what is an essential, what is treated as an essential service. Like, we have these age-old saying that roti, kapda and makan. I think the phrase might be roti, aspatal and makan. But the makan is still there. And the makan means your home, which is actually created by us, we architects. And the whole world today knows the importance of staying in your own home. So the idea of, creating an importance of architects, indirectly, it has already happened. And I think we as a community of architects, I think we can do many things. We can help government, design quarantine centers, emergency shelters, modify your hospital wards, and many other essential services. So I think I feel, how do we create importance of architecture and architects for the society as well as, in the government sector. Atif, can you start with that?
So I feel the pandemic came as a surprise to all. So we cannot fully blame even the government because they were not mentally and primarily prepared for this. And uh, we need to, the basic thing what I'm trying to say is, we need to be ready for any situation as of now. We have seen a lot of shopping malls which are shut now. Makan has got into covered into quarantine. So what is happening is we need to prepare for the future. We need to have a lot of meetings with the government officials, with the health ministers. We need to take a lot of precautions while making a hospital. So earlier we had wheelchair, a slope for a wheelchair. Now we need to even accommodate something which is the sanitization section while entering inside. So a lot of evolvement in the designing aspect has changed post this. But I would like to, enhance and say one step going forward, that when we start a discussion with the government officials, we need to keep something 50 years down the line, what needs to be constructed, what needs to be developed. So and it has to be completely on a retrofit basis. You see stadiums getting converted into a COVID home right now. So you might require shelter anywhere on any situation. So I would actually would want that, as a forum, we all have an some internet petition and approach the government, approach them in join hands in the development aspect.
Okay, Ashish Patankar, because as I am aware, you are quite active even locally in your area. So, what do you feel? How do we create importance of an architect even in society as well as various sectors of government?
So since we are already doing government projects, we are in contact with government officials. But what happens is that is not enough, as because an individual making a representation is not enough. We need to go as a fraternity and an association, and we should tell the government that we are ready to partner with them. Even in their policies, even in the framework of these laws, or whatever conditions of contracts or anything that the government, we are ready to help them, we are ready to partner with them. And it is for the benefit of, it's a mutually beneficial proposition. It will help the government, it will help the architects.
Yeah, so it's more like, having, say, maybe an association of architect, maybe Indian Institute of Architects, and, we as a fraternity, move the local government from our side, also local government as well as state government, and, try and see if we can have some sort of compulsory mandate for, designing certain kind of structures. You have to involve architects in it. Like even for during this pandemic, I think in one of the webinars, people had raised the questions to the municipal commissioner, ex-municipal commissioner, that how we as professionals can come to you and to create some and be helpful to the nation, so that we can also be in the forefront of building the nation at the time of the need. We can do a lot as a professional. So, that comes to the next question. What I want to ask is, again, it is, very relevant today. that after the lockdown is lifted and once the economic activity starts rolling, there are going to be many firms, small firms, which will be at a point which you can say it is, we are going to start all over again, maybe like a fresh start. So I think government, at this time when we are facing economic crisis and project issues, I think government can play an active role of being one nice client. They can create jobs for us in various government sectors. They can create uh, a requirement of an architect in various sectors of the government. So, and again, right now there's talk going on that up to 200 crores project, they are going to involve only Indian manufacturing companies and Indian service providers to bid for such projects. So, do you think that we need a collaborative or a joint platform where we can actually come together and bid for these projects, and also not only bid but also qualify and get these projects? So Ashish Patil, do you think this sort of platform, like a formal or informal platform, is required to be created?
Yes, Amir, I feel yes, this is, I think, a good opportunity. This situation, maybe though it is a very pandemic and the adverse situation, as you rightly said, many firms, small, medium, and even large, have now come to the point where they are restructuring the way they are operating, the kind of a clientele, the kind of streams they are looking at. But this is a good opportunity for everyone to look at the whole practice in India from a different perspective. First, as you said, that yes, we need to have a platform. Maybe it can be a IIA or a COA where every project, be it the government or the private, has to be registered by the client or by the user, so that most of the architects or other all the registered architects have the access to that information, that which all projects are there in market, what is the nature of that project, what is the scope, what is the budget, and so that they can pitch for it. The COA has to make this mandatory for all the clients to get these projects on the portal, make sure that they appoint right kind of architects, and architects only, not the contractors or the PMCs or the interior designers, etc. This way, mainly the small and the medium firms will get a lot of exposure. The region-wise, they can choose which region they are in. They need not be in the metro, but even from the tier 2, tier 3 cities, architects will, they will not waste much of their time in hunting for projects, but there will be a ready portal available. Second is, yes, as we said earlier, the collaboration for the smaller or the medium size firms is very essential to pitch for the larger projects and go to the next step of smaller firms can become eligible for the larger projects in the next 5 years. And one is this practice or architectural practice has to be reviewed 360 degrees. Mainly, we see a lot of project pulling or the kind of I would say dirty kind of a competition within our fraternity, because we don't have a fixed fee structure. And that is the reason architects have started pitching even for the 0.5% of the fees. And, we have come down from the 5% or 3% to the 0.5% of the fees or 1% of the fees. Rather, the COA has made this very mandatory, or they should come up with a very structured fee structure for the size and the scale of the project, so that no matter which is the architect, the fees is pre-decided. So the people will be, or the architect will be chosen only on the basis of their design merits or their thinking capacities, and not on the fee structure.
Okay, I think Atit also, he a lot of time deliberates on this issue whenever we met informally out of this webinar. What do you have to say, Atit?
I actually feel that, I would say this thing again, you need to impose some strict rules, for architects and interiors, as in for their support. You have a lot of opportunities for them. The buildings are not getting audited every 6 months. Your interiors are happening at different locations by uncertified interior designers. And it's been a very long time. It's not about us in the forum, but there have been many architects and interior designers who have been saying the same thing to the government, requesting the government to get up and help us with some rule that it has to be mandatory that a certified architect or a certified interior designer has to execute the job, or at least should be on the paperwork, which is not the case. So we need support, and if somebody is hearing us again, should take a note of this, and so our bread butter survives. That is what.
But I think there is a very nice initiative which I saw. I said before also that on the Council of Architecture website, you can actually put in the number of the registration, and you can check and you can verify, and it says verify your architect. So I think it is good. Only thing is, I think that is not known to larger audience. I think we should do something which the general public also knows, that there is something like there is a body which is Council of Architecture, which gives us a registration, and we are registered architects, not only registered but also have a formal education of 12 plus 5 years, which is a long time to invest in your education. So I think that this comes up with, like as Atit said, that a lot of things are happening locally, like the buildings are not getting audited, the interiors are getting done by unqualified people. So I think that comes to the next question, that
Amir, can I just say something
yes.
in between? I mean, in continuation with what Atit is also saying, that that is what we have been saying, that we need to, or the council needs to, empower architects. Our signature has to be as important as the CS signature. As I always say that, you cannot even get a 50,000 rupees a loan if you don't have a CS certified papers.
Yes.
And that is how every client, I think the COA has to not only work on the bylaws or the acts for the architects, but they have to work even on the bylaws for the clients and the government, where they should be made compulsory to appoint certified or the registered architects, and not any the diploma or the small time or other professionals. And this is the only way we can become the captain of the ship. Otherwise we will be just another service provider whose signatures are required on paper, and there are no powers given in our hand. This way, our opinion, our intelligence, or our 5 years of the experience will be taken very seriously. And once we have the empowered fraternity, nobody will have such kind of this competitions based on the fees happening. Only the good work will happen through our services, and that way even the small, medium, and the large firms, everybody will be safe and secured in their zone.
Yeah, so it's like the very fact that the act was actually created for the people. So if we get empowered, we will be able to design better solutions, create better societies, and I think as an architect, we can play an important role in creating a good urban environment. We create good societies. So I think from all these discussion, I feel that there are many other aspects of the architecture also. It is not only design, and what we are taught in college, and from when we start practicing, we usually find our own liking or our own stream once we start working towards them, or by way of getting the projects, we get attracted towards these stream. And there are many various aspects. Maybe like some guys they want to get into the license sector only. Some people want to do management. Some people want to specialize in urban design. Some wants to be an acoustical architect. So I think, when how do we, create awareness that architects and architecture is not only about only design, but there are a lot of various aspects to it. Even the students, when they are studying, they should know that, it's not only design which is, going to give you the job. You have to implement your design also. So there are a lot of other aspects which you have to work, and you may start liking, and you can develop your entire career out of it. So I think, I'll start with Siddhant, because he had, asked me a very curious question, which, it took me some time to understand, what he's trying to ask. So what do you feel, Siddhant, like if we have different categories or different aspects of the architecture practices, do you think, we can create awareness on that?
Yeah, exactly. As per my understanding, the architect is the person who deals with the society directly or indirectly, which affect the total development of the city, the habitable spaces. And as per the current situation, also we are looking at the pandemic situation. This is not a very good solution to categorize the futuristic, the whatever the practice is going to happen. And this is the indirect way to the choose the path where we have to go. And this awareness has to be brought into picture while they are studying in the college. That is what I feel. The
Ashish Patankar, what can you suggest on this? Ashish, you're mute.
Actually, what happens is that the practice of architecture is left to us architects. So we need to define and we need to collaborate together and make ourselves known. Even though there are architects are quite well known by now, but still there are non-architects who are posing as architects, which is giving us a bad name, which is what we need to understand from this. Now, these practices, small practices, actually need some kind of support, hand-holding. The government can actually intervene in this manner, in which, the projects which are given, smaller projects, should be given only to smaller firms, where, see, right now you qualify for a project. Bigger firms can qualify for all projects. Smaller firms cannot qualify for big projects. So that kind of intervention can help.
What I want to, take this question further, that, when we identify different aspects of architectural practice, and when we're talking about categorizing our practices, will this actually create more jobs and more opportunity if we as a fraternity collaborate within ourselves? Atit, can you share some thoughts on this?
I think, what Patankar sir said earlier, for the architect, it is a self-wish if he wants to come out and say, these are the projects is what I'm doing. So now that in that scenario, you cannot have an immediate control. In the current scenario, when we talk of big size firms, small size firms, when we have a central body in place, we have something where everybody has to speak very openly, because we are competing amongst us as architects. So any mid-size firm would like to pitch for a large-size project. A large-size project guy is eventually going to pitch for a small size for his bread and butter, even for a mid-size project. So, this story is going to be on, is what I feel. The only thing what should happen is, if we have an amendment in place, what I've been saying, you need a portal. You need a portal where you have to declare everything. Because there are a lot of financial issues also related when you're playing with a big project. We know how the government works. If you see all the zones in Mumbai which are there, you see the uniformity, the unique uniformity of the skyscrapers and the non-skyscrapers. So, we don't have something which is defined. We require a set of mentors who need to take an initiative, and we need to be with those mentors to drive this. I think that will solve most of our issues. I'm not saying immediately, but I'm saying if the urge is there, we can take it step by step. But we can look at a development 10 years, from now. But we need to start the drive. Somewhere the drive has to start.
Yeah. So when you're saying when you're talking about mentor, I think some countries in, I think it's in US, some part of US, they have these rules that any government projects, uh, all size of architectural practices have to be involved. Even not only for architects, even for engineering firms, they have to take the smaller firms with them, even the contractors when they're taking part in the project. So that idea is, that everybody gets an equal opportunity to learn from that project and, have one extra feather in their resume and grow professionally. So, Ashish Patil, do you think we can, as Atit says about mentor, we can also have the same concept, at least for larger government projects, where, the smaller, medium-sized firms also get involved. Maybe we can do a very specific part, or we can play a very specific role in that project, but at least, we will learn and gain from that.
Of course, that is something which some of the countries are following now, and I think we also should start doing this. Is when be it the government or the private projects, when you are appointing a large scale consultancy firm, be it the architecture or any, uh, it should it should be made mandatory to have a one more local small firm or a mid-sized firm, for a simple reason, for the coordination purpose, and to get the other aspects of the project coordinated with the client and other consultants. This way, the smaller firm or the mid-sized firm gets the opportunity to work on the large project under the umbrella of the large consultancy firm, be it the architectural firm or any other firm, because the large size architectural firm will always have that kind of experience and the manpower or the kind of resources with them, which will teach the smaller firm or the smaller architects or the mid-sized firms. They will be next project when the and this will be counted in their experience. So next time when they are trying to pitch for the slightly larger project, they will be straight away qualified for the next stage. This way, the small firms can go to the level of the medium-sized firms. The medium-sized firms will go to the large-sized firms, and everybody progresses. And within the pyramid, when the small-sized firms are growing to the mid-sized firms, that space which becomes a vacant, the freshers can come. The new guys who come into the practice, they feel confident that yes, there is a future, there is a hope, that by this way, if we collaborate with the larger firms, we will get experience also, and we will be able to move to the next step. Today, the scenario in our country has become is there are, I would say, a 30 or 40 or 50, a handful of the very large size architectural firms who are hoarding up that space, because the others are not growing to their level, because within the prerequisite tender, they don't get qualified, that you don't have a similar kind of a project experience with you, and that is why you cannot be qualified. This way, you will distribute the work in all the sizes of the firm, and eventually the whole fraternity will grow.
So I think that brings us to the next interesting poll questions for the audience. That do you think collaboration within professional fraternity will create more opportunities for all? And we have the third poll. Yeah. So again, we have 93% saying yes, and 7% are still
7%
saying maybe.
maybe.
So this maybe is very important.
Yes.
We should know who this maybe are. So I think, yeah, I think overall, we have a very clear, or I would say not clear, but maybe like, a thread or a very cloudy picture, what we need from government, what we need from association, what we are looking at, how we want our medium and small size architecture firms to be. And I think it's like a Pandora's box. Every question which has been answered, we can have a separate webinar and a full discussion on this, and it can go on. But I think overall, I agree that, we all come to a point where we think that we need to understand the problems faced by the medium and small size firms, both professionally as well as economically. And I think to make it more interesting, we can have some questions from the audience. We have around a few questions which I would like to take up. Rocky Sands, he's asking, for this act, where does the prominent architects like Hafiz, etc., stand? And why don't they come forward for this? So
Bang
anyone
on.
want to answer on that?
So, can I go?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so that's going to be something as a diplomatic answer, which I would give rather. It's like our film industry. Somebody is getting paid high, somebody is getting paid low. So the person who's getting paid low needs to come, the fraternity needs to come together and ask Hafiz ji, what are you doing that, what we are not doing? So the question actually has to be directed directly to the mentor.
Yeah.
So I feel that we should, as a fraternity, what Rocky has asked is a very valid question, and everybody has that in their mind.
Yes. I'll take the next question now. Again, this is again from Rocky, and is an interesting question. Do other countries also have the same such act? Ashish Patankar, what do you say?
Yes.
Other countries also have the act. So.
The acts are more refined and more clearer, and they are acted upon. We don't have any prosecution happening for non-architects. So their acts they've been very clearly defined. We've not had a single amendment in 48 years. So it reflects poorly on us. We have not been able to get any amendments cleared in these 48 years to get all these clarifications in this act itself. So we need to get our act together to get these amendments passed.
And I also think, that is my personal thought that, we, after getting the certificate of registration, we are free to practice all over India. Whereas a lot of times what happens is, being in Mumbai and Maharashtra, I might know the rules and regulation of Maharashtra and Mumbai. I might not know the rules and regulation of other states. So I think in many countries, they also have, these zone-wise practice that if you want to migrate to another state to practice, whether permanently or temporary, you need to apply to that zone to get the specific license.
Yes.
Right,
you need to have a local license.
You need to have a local license too, right? And I'll take another question that what Swapnil Sawant is saying, that what is the point way ahead? Like how do you, after discussing all these of, categorizing our services. And
I have a good answer for that.
What is the point way ahead?
I would request everybody to have a rally from VT to Bandra on this. All the professions are having a rally. We don't have a protest rally at all.
because we are very unorganized professionals.
Yeah, so we go
don't have
for a
any
walk
unity.
so we go for a walk every day in the morning. So you just have to take the rally from VT to Bandra to make a point that please get the act done in place. So we see the CAs are talking very openly. The doctors do go and do strike. We have never heard an architect doing a strike.
No.
For
Have you
that, we
seen
need
an
to be
architect doing
considered
strike?
as, Atit, I feel for that, we need to be considered as an essential service.
Yes, so we need to prove that when we get on a strike, we will have more awareness of people joining in. I am not saying the number is going to be very less, but going forward, when you see people, understand what we are trying to do, more people, join up, and then, it becomes like a act. Otherwise, we'll be talking on a webinar, and we'll have some government official. He'll promise everything because we have spoken earlier, and then
Yes.
he forgets. So I'm not getting there, but
No, there's another interesting question from Tanvi Anand. She is asking, as we as architects, we are not supposed to promote ourselves or advertise ourselves. So how do we, achieve our personal growth? And how far will this affect, going to the next level in the practice? And I actually want to, answer her not directly, indirectly, but I would, put my point that, I think, there is a campaign required that for general society that, who is an architect, what does an architect do, and appoint an architect. Like when I say appoint an architect, why you should appoint an architect. That is required, because nobody, I think, many of my clients, when I go to them and when I say, I'm an architect, they don't ask, show your license or show your registration certificate. So many times what happens is, people are not aware that who is an architect and why he is a different and why we should appoint him.
I feel even the CAs also don't advertise themselves. So I don't think the advertisement is an option for growth, or it is mandatory for the growth. It is the recognition of your profession officially, legally, is something what will make you as an important or the essential service provider. If you have to have the doctor's prescription to buy a medicine from the medical store, if you have to have the CS certificate to avail a loan, or even though to file the IT returns for your annual returns, then the architect certificate also should be mandatory for the any kind of a work you wish to do, be it refurbishing from a small room to a large building project. It has to be mandatory. Then only you will get that kind of a recognition. Then only you will get that respect, and eventually it will reflect on your the economics of the fraternity also. Then people will
so
start giving.
that is the fear factor. So the fear factor is amongst the doctor. When you go to a doctor, you're under the fear. When you go to a CA, you're handing over the entire money crunch to him. You have fear factor. Even a licensed electrician, you have a fear factor. So when a house is getting developed, you certify and you see the customer tells the architect, please check if the electrician is certified to install my three-phase stripper in India.
So it's
So
a
that's
compulsion which you have to have.
yeah, so wherever there is a fear, okay, it's going to become mandatory. Now we don't have fear factor with an architect because architect is a decorative thing. He is not an essential person. He will वो बना देंगे कुछ ना कुछ he will make. It's over. So I have to break it and make a new one. It's not going to hamper me. So they don't have that fear factor that it's going to hamper me by any which ways. But when an incident happens, they forget everybody. Okay, the only person that they remember is the principal, right? Architect or an interior designer. So to change that mindset, I think we require to have more awareness with the clienteles. That what do we offer? Why you require an architect? That in most of the forums I think has not been expressed to
I think more
B2C.
than awareness, I think there should be stringent laws. They don't need awareness, they will have to blindly follow it. Whether they like it or not, whether they are aware of it or no, they will have to follow it once you make it mandatory.
So I think, with, having that law and such effective rules and regulations, and also to create, these platform for collaboration and various other parts of, practice. I think II, which is a fantastic body, and it has many chapters all across India. We can, take help of IA, we can organize, get together, and do some events, which actually also promote, the entire architectural fraternity within us. And today only, I think I have forwarded to many that IIA has started
Yes.
the YouTube channel also now. So I think,
Yes.
Yes.
in this lockdown and this new digital era, many things are happening
Yes.
for good. So I think there is another question from Tejaswita Singh, and she's asking, I think Siddhant will be a good candidate to answer that.
Yeah.
As an architect, what will you advise to the final year student?
Yeah, I think while the graduating from the architectural school at the final year, we should invest our 6 month, initial 6 months to analyze what is the practice and what are the factors in the market. Because whatever we learn, that we have to be maintain in the market and utilize in the market for our bread and butter. And this is 6 months for the life where we have to go and which path we choose. Like from the lightning architect, we never taught in the school what are the factors and the criteria in the classifications in the market. So that will be better to invest the first 6 months for the analyzing the market of the each and every practicing architect.
And I think,
I would like to come in here.
Yeah,
Actually, a final year student right now would be distressed understanding the situation, because as it is, a lot of architects are under a lot of stress. So this downtime can be actually be used to study. You can study further and use that time, because if you go, you will not be able to practice right now because there are hardly any jobs. If you want to work with an architect, right now architects are not recruiting. So you can use this time to maybe do some specialization and equip yourself better, because any downtime in the market, the best time to utilize that is to equip yourself and get some more qualifications. That will help better. So if you are doing, say, a master's degree, 2 years, because this recession is probably going to be there for maybe 2 years. So that time will be utilized to do a master's course, which will definitely help in the entire career.
and I think, I would like to say something that, uh, maybe right now, we are seeing only one side of the coin. We don't know actually what will happen, because, there are a lot of these, positive feedbacks coming that once we'll have a good monsoon, the economy will again start reviving. So that, maybe 2 or 3 months down the line, maybe during the Diwali, we will see, the things getting more revived. And, because I think, we are still developing country, we cannot go down so fast like other developed countries. And I think, we'll have a lot of opportunities. We have to, identify where opportunities will be created. And I think, again, I stress that, we need a platform again to, for us to even to see, where the new opportunities are coming up. Maybe in the farm sector, there are a lot of new opportunities, like rural infrastructure is, I think, is the next hot topic which is going to come up. And many architects will start, getting into it, because it's a large country, we have a lot of projects to do that. And I'm sure, we have capacity also to do and handle this stuff. And with that, I also have one last question which I want to take. is okay. I'll take two questions. One is I think this gentleman is Naveen Venkatesh. He's asking, we have in Mumbai, we have many bays. So are we, seeing any development like Burj Khalifa coming up in near future? Anyone wants to reply to that?
Yeah, I think we are very much capable of doing that. Our architectural fraternity in India is strong enough, with the economy is also not too bad. We can, of course, it's a different topic over here, but I think we can definitely expect that. The kind of a coastal roads and the development we are looking in Mumbai, having another Burj or maybe even bigger than that is not too far.
Yeah, and there's one more question which is very
If
important.
you know any client, you can let us know.
Yes. There's one more last question which I want to take before I thank everybody and, or before I do the final conclusion or synopsis on what we discussed today. Are architects doing business in this COVID time?
Yes. Yes, many are.
This should have been a poll question, but yeah, I think people who have work, they are working.
Yeah.
It depends upon the scenario. In B Town, work is going on pretty smoothly, but in Metropolis, it's still some parts there are issues. There are issues in Bangalore, Mumbai, Delhi.
Yeah.
But in rural places, in the B Town, I don't think there is so much of an issue.
Siddhant? Siddhant, you're on mute.
Even we are not doing the direct business, we can utilize this time for the improvisation of our practice, standard practice. That will help us for the banging the many projects and with the minimum time frame and the minimum utilization of the time. So that can be happen in this duration.
I think many firms are right now laying the foundation of the upcoming business.
Yes.
This is the time which is utilized to do that, to change the strategies, to change the working methodologies, to change the how to handle the HR issues. So I think this time is I think it's an indirect investment.
Exactly.
So there is another person, I don't know whether I should take, there is a builder, I'm not taking the name. He has come up with a very good concept of affordable homes. The project is around 170 acres and he insists on giving a flat in 5 to 10 lakhs in a B town, which is a good thought process. And there are some architects in associate working on that. So, in this scenario, like everybody saying, we need to be aware about our thesis, depending upon our experience on how, you can contribute.
Yeah, and I think what I personally see in Mumbai next big thing which is going to come up, next projects, the line of project, what I feel is a lot of societies, seeing the current situation of the developers, a lot of societies are going to get into self-development.
Self-development.
I think, most of them have now started knowing the importance of, hiring an architect for the project as a main architect or maybe a leader in the form of PFC. I think, the avenues, new opportunities will come up. And I think, with that, I want to, do the final synopsis. And I think I'll take liberty of, saying that I think, yes, we should identify and small and medium practices which are happening, which is part of a large fraternity. It's a large percentage of people, doing medium and small size practice, and identify them and characterize them. And I think, using a word like MSME or something like, MAP, like micro, small, medium architectural practice. So MS MAP or something like that. And we also need to create importance within of the profession at the same time of the architect also, and both private sector and government sector also. And we need to create a platform where we all come together on a level playing field. We collaborate, we gain within the collaboration within the fraternity, so that everybody has an equal chance to grow their practice, and have more opportunities, look forward, be more empowered. Even for the students, they will feel more empowered when they see various sides of practices collaborating and doing a project. So I think with that I want to take the final thanks to all the panelists, Atit, Ashish Patil, Ashish Patankar, and
Thank you.
Sushant Khade. And I also like to thank the Arch Exchange team and the Global Advertisers Private Limited, because of whom today's webinar is possible. Thank you all.